let's go ahead and drop into a nice, comfortable meditation posture. Allowing ourselves to become fully present, because many of us have busy lives and we are now taking a moment to make contact with our higher minds. We're creating that sacred healing space within which contact can be made. Allowing ourselves to feel into the body. As we feel into the body, we feel a sense of presence and relaxation and allowance, allowing this moment to be as it is. Allowing ourselves to begin to trust the existence within which we have this so-called temporal experience of ourselves as a person. Trusting existence, trusting the way our life unfolds. Recognizing that even while we might feel as if we're separate and individual persons having a physical experience, we are having that experience within a much larger and vaster field of consciousness that is infinitely supportive and gives rise to the very experiences that we label as ourselves. And within this infinite support, we can have any experience. We have the free will to have any experience within this infinite, unconditionally loving field of consciousness that is our existence. Recognizing we are so free that we can choose bondage. We are so unconditionally loved that we can choose to feel unloved. And we can have these experiences of limitation precisely because we are unconditionally loved. And we have that freedom to experience even the experiences of disconnection and being unloved. That is the paradox. Allowing ourselves now to drop into that presence of existence, the field of existence. Tapping into vaster and vaster portions of our infinite being. Good day to ya. We welcome you to the realms of light, where the vast majority of who you are also exists. We welcome you to the realms of light, from where your physical lives, your physical personalities, and your entire physical worlds also spring. Emerging from that field of consciousness known as your existence. For each of you are having the experience of being individuated beings, couched securely within the existence which embraces you unconditionally, lovingly, and it gives you the freedom to experience yourself in any way that you choose. Therefore, in this age of awakening, it is being revealed to you as you reveal it to yourselves, that you are the orchestrators and the creators of the reality that you up to this point have believed to exist within. This is what we like to refer to as lucid waking. You are waking up within the dream of physical reality, recognizing that it too is a dream that the soul is having. And therefore, as you become lucid, you realize you are creating the dream, the very dream environment within which you previously thought you merely existed within. And as you do so, you are shifting from the third density, the very dense vibration where you feel everything to be separate and segregated from you. And you're shifting into fourth density where you feel everything is interconnected and interlinked. Thusly you will see more and more within your fields of expertise, within your society, the continual building of bridges and links and connections between seemingly separated disciplines. For you are recognizing that all is interconnected. Therefore, you will see that that which has been segregated is now coming together, and these seemingly distinct disciplines are now plugging one into the other. For those of you that are in the healing arts, of course, you are noticing that that which you have always known to be true is becoming more and more apparent in your society as you realize that physicalized medicine depends upon the psychology of the being, which then also depends upon the belief systems that an individual buys into. And the translation of the non-physical version of who you are through the layers of consciousness down to the physical, the very energy that animates the life processes within the cells and the tissues, is the same energy that translates through the belief matrix, is sifted through the belief systems. And when the belief systems limit the amount of energy that can reach your physical tissues, of course they will wither. Even as a plant withers that is withheld from the light or from the nutrients of the earth, so too will your physical bodies wither and show signs of misconfiguration when your belief systems do not allow the free flow of energy from the higher dimensions. Thusly, you can always recognize that if you're having any challenges in the realm of physical health, you can no longer look at it simply from the perspective of physicality alone, for your society has to this point specialized in a very thin layer of physical reality, that which is perceived through the five senses, to the exclusion of the other layers of consciousness. And now you are in a time in the age of awakening, recognizing the interplay between various layers of consciousness, so that you cannot look at the physical alone without looking at these other layers, these other portions of consciousness, which is another way of saying the other layers of your selves. You are recognizing yourselves as multidimensional beings. You are recognizing your planet to be a multidimensional being as well. And while you might, with great hubris, think that you have solved many of the mysteries of physical life and have explored every nook and cranny of the planet, you will recognize you have explored but a very thin layer of physicality of your planet, and the planet holds many mysteries and many secrets that are hidden in plain sight, because you simply have put the blinders on to blind you from the other layers of consciousness that are readily available. Thusly, when you continue to open on this path of awakening, you will recognize that even while it appears you have explored all of your planet, you will find yourself recognizing that there are many portals and many mysteries and many layers within the earth you can travel into and explore many dimensions within the earth itself. You are not merely the physical beings you have trained yourselves to be. You have many, many layers of consciousness. And you are but now awakening to the fact that these layers exist as surely as you exist. Therefore, it is time for a new kind of exploration, the exploration of consciousness, which will allow you to see the great mysteries that are right there before your eyes. You have simply been looking with one version of your eyes up to this point. And there are many versions of eyes, perceiving into many layers, into many dimensions that you have yet to explore. You will find your physical realm interspersed with many dimensions, and many gateways, and many portals, and many doorways, through which you can pass with your consciousness, and sometimes even quite physically indeed. You will recognize there are many lands waiting to be explored by you. And you will find yourselves, when you reach for the stars, that you are not merely exploring outer space, you are also simultaneously exploring inner space. For outer space exploration is merely a reflection of the inner exploration of space. Thusly, it is no accident that your technology has been enabling you to peer further and further into the vastness of the void, because you are now ready to experience yourselves as the vast beings that you are. And you are at the very beginning of the stage of awakening. And we can assure you a wild ride awaits all those who choose to shift to the version of Earth that continues the ascension process. Now, if you are receiving this transmission, you can have a fairly good sense that you are on the trajectory of awakening, for otherwise you would not find yourself hearing these words. Yet that being said, many choices must be made, for you have designed your reality to be experiencing choice moment by moment, frame by frame. Thusly, it is up to each individual with your infinite freedom to choose to shift to the realities that you prefer, and to do so. It necessitates the exploration of your own belief systems, as an explorer might explore a new land, a new civilization. You can explore the belief matrices that compose your personality with great adventure, with great curiosity. So put on your explorer hats and take it upon yourself to explore the vastness of the belief matrices that you have assembled and that you have bought into. Do not be afraid, for this adventure can only reveal more of your true natural self to you. Do not be afraid of the limitation, for you yourself have constructed it. Thusly, being afraid of your own beliefs is like being afraid of your own shadow. 'Tis nonsensical indeed. And yet many of you buy into the idea that if you look at your negative beliefs that you will somehow materialize them. Nothing could be further from the truth. It is by avoiding your negative beliefs that they are then most likely to materialize. And then you will be continuing in the third density paradigm of things appearing to happen to you, of things seemingly out of the blue coming out at you. Thusly, when you shift to fourth density, you take a sense of ownership of the belief matrices that are being projected into the crystallized and physicalized reality that you experience yourself to be. And through that experience of lucid waking, you will come to Recognize yourself as the wondrous creator and co-creator of the reality that you're experiencing yourself to be. So take heart and have great courage, for you are on a path of the most wondrous exploration. And in a manner of speaking, you can say that you are the envy of the universe, for this arc of transformation that you have set up is so highly unique. To experience such darkness and to come out into the light is a dearly precious experience, unlike any other within the entire known and unknown universe. So have trust that what you're experiencing has utmost value within the creation of all that is. All your experiences, be they positive or negative, are precious, are cherished, are aspects of all that is indestructible. You are infinitely appreciated for the experience that you are having, not only for yourself, but in a manner of speaking, for the entirety of creation. For the experiences that you have change worlds. Worlds of which you know not yet, but will discover in time. For many look up to you to be their guiding light, for to transform this amount of darkness to light. You have been a bright inspiration for many civilizations. So honor the gift that you are unto the universe. Honor yourselves as the beings that you are, even as limited as you might perceive yourselves to be. You are undertaking this journey with great courage, great love. You are the transformers of darkness to light. Therefore, do not let that darkness dismay you, for you have made the choice to be here, to master limitation in such a profound way. So we thank you, and many beings in the universe thank you for being exactly where you are, for being who you are in this moment, not in some future moment that you perceive as the future. We are talking about the here and now. The way that you are now is absolutely precious, limitations and all. For you are at a certain stage within the arc of transformation from darkness to light, and each stage within the arc is precious. For you must have a darkest moment and a moment of pure and utter awakening, and every stage in between. To have the entire arc, you cannot skip and start the story halfway. You must move through the entire arc of transformation. Many of you would find it quite silly to begin watching your movies from the beginning, or rather, shall we say, from the middle of the movie, because you want to skip all that part where the challenges are created and set up. That would not make sense, and so your lives are also the arcs of transformation from darkness to light. Therefore, appreciate each stage of the story. You are telling the story. You are awakening to the fact that you are the director as well as the actor within your own play. So appreciate every aspect, every nuance, every feeling is to be appreciated and cherished. So love yourselves and honor yourselves for the story that you are telling of your life, and the grand story that you are telling as a civilization of the transformation from darkness to light. And give yourselves a break, as it were. Now we very much appreciate the co-creation of this wonderful circle of light. For whether you know it or not, you are emissaries of the light, shining great light into your world, each and every one of you. And you will, should you choose to continue to act on your passions, experience tremendous co-creative ability when you put your abilities together to create various circles of light. And you are beginning to witness this emerging within and amongst you as you intermingle and share your experiences with one another, creating reflective mirrors for yourselves to reflect to each other the light beings that you are and to encourage each other upon this path. For now you will know forevermore you are never alone. Just look around you and see that there are other beings of light walking this path with you, and you can walk it hand in hand and create much resonance in the co-creation of various experiences together, of coming into the light together. Thusly, you will, in your very near future time, be receiving many ideas to act upon, to co-create and harmonize as a group, to feel the support of each individual within the supportive, loving embrace of the group frequency. Likewise, all across your planet, such groups are forming, and you will then interlink like interlocking circles, interlinking together, creating, in a manner of speaking, the new civilization, shifting to the version of Earth where that is reflected back to you as the civilization that represents the choices that you have made to embody the light. Now, do not beat yourselves up if you find yourself experiencing the revelation of much negativities, for this is part of the process of negative belief detoxification. As you let go of all the negative and outdated beliefs, you will have the experience of re-experiencing some of that negativity. This is part of the process of integration. Integration is a process of inclusion. You are including all portions of yourself, all parts. You are embracing them, hearing their story, letting them tell you of the negativity they've experienced as other versions of you. So embrace all aspects, embrace even your negative beliefs, then you will be operating from a positive frequency of integration and ascension. You cannot ascend, you cannot segregate your way to ascension. This is a process of inclusion and harmonization. Therefore, if you wish to be on the version of Earth that is ascending, integration is necessary, and integration means, by definition, the honoring of each individual frequency and not homogenization. Now, at this timing, we wish to open this dialogue up to any questions that you might have, and please remember to unmute your technology and then remute it after your question.
I have a question.
Very good.
I would like to make a comment first. I really like your term lucid waking, because that's where I've been finding myself for a while now, and it seems to be an appropriate label for it. You talked about the layers of consciousness. Could you tell me a little bit more about the layers of consciousness and what they are?
Goodness, this would be a whole nother transmission. And all of this depends on semantics, and we will not at this time marry ourselves to any specific labels. Thusly, having said that, we can give you a brief description of those layers that are relevant for this experience. Therefore, you have, of course, your physical personality self, which is composed of the beliefs that you have bought into, the emotions that they generate and the thoughts they generate, and then the behaviors that they generate. This is your personality matrix. It is also linked to a body consciousness which reflects the nature of the beliefs, the feelings, and the thoughts, and the behaviors, for the behaviors verily do come through the physical body. Now, into that personality matrix is being projected what we might call the higher mind, the non-physical portion. This portion, in a manner of speaking, contains the idea of a life theme, a life curriculum, a kind of a blueprint. And it is constantly beaming to the personality choices and ideas that are in greatest alignment with its purpose, with its curriculum or highest expression of self. And the physical personality thusly is able to receive those transmissions or be blind to them due to the negative beliefs that it has adopted. Therefore, the first two primary layers is the interaction of the physical mind and the higher mind. For the physical mind has the freedom to choose limitation and darkness and bondage, and to feel separated from the all that is, including the higher mind. Many of the physical minds have been trained to believe that they are at it alone and cannot receive help from these other portions. They are said to be non-trustworthy. And so these are the two layers you are working with most intimately, the interrelationship between the higher mind and the physical mind. When this relationship moves into greater alignment, when there is greater communication between the physical and the higher mind, thus you open up yourself to the other portions of consciousness. Now you might consider the idea of a soul energy, which is the energy that is who you are prior to any identifications with name and form. Now we might use another term such as spirit to describe that portion of the soul that has been imprinted with various life experience. And that would constitute this individuated being that you are, that you know only a small portion of as yourself, as the physical mind, that you are awakening to as you open up to the higher mind, to the soul level, and the composite spirit level that knows your all, your entire experience within this physical matrix. Now beyond that are layers that you might call the entity level or the oversoul level. This is the level which contains or is a composite of the various soul energies. And from there the structure would continue that the oversoul would have an oversoul composed of other oversouls, and those might have more oversouls that have other oversouls, and so your inner being has an inner being, has an inner being, has an inner being, has an inner being, has an inner being that has an inner being that also has an inner being, all the way to all that is. The grand paradox being that even all that is can have a greater all that is. There is no end, for it is infinite. Now we may at some point have a transmission specifically as to the layers of consciousness, for much can be asked. Now when you enter channeling states or you receive inspiration, it may come from the higher mind, it may come from the soul level, it may come from the oversoul level, it may come from other aspect selves, or other versions of you in other parallel realities. However, for now, we trust that this will suffice. You use the term lucid waking. And so to that end, we will also let you know that which you consider to be physical reality, we have said that you will recognize that you are the reality that you previously thought you existed in as a physical self. Thusly recognize that this is an extension of the higher mind. The higher mind is the field within which you have your physical experience. You are having your physical experience within your higher mind. The higher mind being a kind of reflective mirror which gives you the opportunity to have this experience of the physical dream. It is happening within you, not you within it. That is the point. And so we hope that this helps.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Very good.
This is personal, but I imagine that it will help others. So this morning, my physical mind is trying to deal with loss, rejection. As I'm making choices, I feel like I'm losing some clients that aren't as aligned with me. And as we're doing this work together now, I'm processing it and realizing that I'm also making choices. I actually rejected an offer this morning that was made to me again, so I can be aligned. So I see how it's all working together and that I just need to deal with this rejection and loss. But if there is anything that you can say to help with the coping of that, with the physical mind and accepting all of this.
First of all, how exciting. You have to recognize that in order to, as you say in physical terms, make space for the new, sometimes it includes letting go of the old. Whether it comes down to something as simple as cleaning out your garage so that you can bring a new item in. Likewise, your physical lives will have experiences and people and circumstances that you will discover to be out of alignment, out of phase. And you can choose to gracefully extricate yourself from these situations. Or you can simply wait and allow the dissonance to become so great that you create either a minor or a major incident that will demonstrate very clearly that this relationship or this situation must come to a close. So you are and you will continue to experience many shake-ups and breakups when your revelations of things no longer serving you being brought to your awareness. This is part and parcel of the idea of shifting to versions of art that you prefer. As you make these shifts, you will find yourself gradually shifting out of certain situations. And you may be shifting to versions of art whereby certain individuals don't have a version of themselves in that parallel reality stream. Therefore, you will find them sifting their way out of your life. The term splitting prism has been used. A very, very useful term. You are shifting. And as you shift, as you make these minor and sometimes major shifts, you have to realize that not every situation will have a vibrational match within the reality that you're shifting into. You will find that it will gradually shift its way out of your life, and that might include you making choices that create the ending of certain circumstances or relationships or interactions within your life. Now, on a human level, you may, of course, experience the sense of loss because you are labeling it as a loss. And so you may move through periods of sadness and grief, and even perhaps what you label as doubt, as you wonder whether your life will work out without this situation or this individual or this circumstance. And that is all what you call normal upon your planet. However, what we encourage you is to drop into your true and natural self and ask yourself the penetrating question: do you trust the way your life unfolds? And if you feel any sadness and negativity, allow yourself to investigate what beliefs are generating such feeling states by asking, what would I have to believe is true about myself in this situation to feel this particular way, think in this particular way, or even act in this particular way? So it is all very useful. Now you can label this in an exciting way, in an adventurous way. You can wait eagerly with curiosity and anticipation of what will happen next. You have concluded one chapter in the story, and you can eagerly await what the new chapter will bring. Use the analogy of the arc of transformation story, the story of your life. Understand your life has chapters with beginnings and endings, and you're moving through a transformational arc, chapter by chapter. So consider this: when one chapter of your life closes, you always know there's always another chapter in the story. And you can, with eager anticipation and curiosity, wait, what will the next chapter bring? It is all in how you look at it, how you define it. So we hope that this sheds some light or other perspectives to help you with your process.
Yes, very much so. Thank you so much.
Could you talk about the lucid dream?
Are you asking about lucid dreaming?
Yes.
Very good. Is there something specific you would like to know? Or overall about lucid dreaming?
Overall, compared to the happening of the deja vu, the frequency of the happening of the deja vus compared to the lucid dreaming.
The idea of your deja vu, as you say, is the idea that you're expanding your sense of time, recognizing yourselves as timeless. Thusly, sometimes you get glimpses ahead of time, as it were, of template realities, and sometimes memories of certain dream experiences where you have set out for yourself the creation of your physical reality dream. Therefore, you get these glimpses that this has already happened because you have had a glimpse of either the template reality or a perception of a future version of you mingling or cross-connecting with the version of you that you are in this moment. Therefore, it appears as if you are that future version of you looking back at an event when in fact from this version of you, it hasn't yet happened or is happening. A kind of, you might call it a temporal distortion, but in fact what it is the increasing clarity of yourself, knowing yourself to exist beyond time and space. Now, a lucid dream experience is that in which you recognize you're conscious while you are dreaming. And lucid dreaming can be a gateway to lucid waking for that same quality of consciousness that you experience in the lucid dream can be brought into your waking self. Therefore, it can be a powerful tool to awaken lucidity within your physical life as well. Now, as many of you know, there will be a talk on lucid dreaming at the upcoming conference that we therefore encourage you to listen to, whether during the live stream or after the fact. For much will be explained about lucid dreaming in that segment. Therefore, we do not wish to spend a lot of time delivering information that is for others to deliver. So we will simply guide you to that upcoming transmission. We may at some point unpack this idea of lucid dreaming, however, it is not at this timing for us to deliver. So we hope that helps you.
Thanks.
So, when we finish our cycle of reincarnation on this planet in the physical reality, where does our consciousness, does it merge with all that is? Does it still have an individuality? What goes on once we're finished on this plane?
Well, first of all, recognize that what goes on when you're finished with this plane, as you say, is happening now. Because, as you know, all that is now, and everything happens in the spacious present. Thusly, you can have the experience of moving from life to life in a linear format, even as you can have a physical life experience going from moment to moment. However, this is merely an experience. It is real unto itself, and yet it is not the way reality is structured. For reality is structured in simultaneity, and everything exists here and now. Thusly, you are beginning and completing your reincarnational cycle right now. For remember, the time is subject to existence. Existence is not subject to time. Therefore, you can create the idea of moving through a series of incarnations. As you move through a series of moments in your physical life, you have and you can have that experience. And then, within that framework of experience, you can find yourself then shifting to a series of incarnations in other civilizations, physical and non-physical, other, as you might say, more advanced civilizations, where you have more finesse with which to construct your realities. You might say from this particular vantage point of a series of lives that you would not be allowed into systems, into civilizations that are of a more refined nature than your own, until you learn the mastery of energy. Therefore, there are many physical civilizations to choose from, and there are many non-physical organizations of consciousness to choose from. Now, of course, all of this is happening simultaneously, and as you awaken to your non-temporal existence, you'll recognize that you can indeed connect to these lifetimes that you have in other civilizations. For they are happening right now. Therefore, right now you have lives in other more advanced civilizations than your own, and you can pull information from these so-called future lives to imbue your civilization with advanced knowledge, advanced sciences, advanced mathematics, advanced arts. You have that ability, for you need not experience the sequence of moments strung out as if beads upon a necklace. You in fact are a multidimensional, interlocked and interpenetrating and vibrating geometric pattern of light. Studying sacred geometry might help to unlock some of the information that pertains to simultaneous time, and therefore enabling you to tap into those lives that you might perceive from your vantage point as future lives, for they are all happening now. So we understand that your answer creates two parallel versions. Your question creates two answers in a manner of speaking, so we hope we spoke adequately in answering it in two different ways.
Thank you.
Could you tell us a little bit more about the organizations of consciousness?
It is not so much for the telling as it is for the showing. Therefore, as we have said, continuing to study sacred geometry can help to unlock your perceptions of simultaneous time. You can bring to your mind the image of multifaceted crystals, and each facet being a version of consciousness as it perceives itself from a unique vantage point and yet connected to all other facets. And it might be connected on the surface to various facets, but also within this crystal and between facets on the inside, as it were, there would be lines of consciousness in sacred geometrical patterns of a multidimensional nature, whereby there will be many intersections of consciousness on the interior, and yet each strand of consciousness on the interior is connected to all others on the interior. Even as on the surface you might be connected to various facets by proximity, on the interior you may be connected to the facets by vibrational resonance. And so through this internetwork of consciousness, all information can be shared, and that which is shared is that which is relevant for any particular focal point or any particular facet experiencing itself as it is from that vantage point. Therefore, all information is theoretically available, however, not all of it is relevant. So you will find yourself awakening the threads of consciousness that connect to other facets that are relevant and in alignment with the experience and the theme that you are choosing to explore in that particular lifetime. Now, what might emerge upon your planet as we read the energy is a kind of multidimensional language of light, artistry, depicting these sacred connections, which has in part been developed by the various mandalas and sacred geometrical patterns However, it is in a rudimentary stage at this point. Now, when you master your technology in such a way that you are able to display three-dimensional images in clear glass-like cubes that will in many ways replace your current flat screen technology, you will thusly be able to create three-dimensional depictions and four-dimensional depictions within these cubes, so that you can see the shifting patterns of light. And these will be simply physical manifestations of the recognitions that you're having to the interior of the universe that you're beginning to explore now. Thusly, these art forms will be representations and reflections of the awakenings that you're experiencing individually and collectively en masse as a society. You will find thus that the blending between technology and art will create new opportunities for exploration and expression of these ideas that become somewhat challenged to experience in the linear format of language. For it is of course a challenge to express multidimensional concepts in a language that is based on a time-space reality format that is indeed very linear. So hopefully you can appreciate the limitations that we are working with, and however we sense and you know yourself that you have the capacity to receive these images and to, as it were, have a flash of insight in what might take us several books to unravel. You can glimpse in an instant through these manifestations of patterns of light. Thusly, you can continue to learn the language of light, this non-verbal form of channeling, and who knows where it might take you. For much will be expressed through the arts that cannot be easily explained through language. So we hope this gives you a glimpse of possibilities.
Thank you.
You will find that even your technological arrangements will begin to reflect these inner workings of consciousness, and you will then have made a quantum leap in your technology. And so now we will ask that for those that are inspired to join us for a brief meditation in helping to crystallize these ideas that have been transmitted and that you are simultaneously receiving from your higher minds, for we serve merely as a mirror, reflecting to you the connections that you have with your higher minds. And within the circle that you have co-created together, each of you as aspects of all that is infinitely appreciated, you can grow your appreciation of one another as well, even as you learn to appreciate yourselves. And in so doing, appreciation being the frequency of ascension. For to appreciate means to rise up. Therefore, rise up in vibration. Rise into remembrance. Rise into true knowing of your true and natural selves that you are in the process of becoming in temporal terms. By all means, reach out to one another. You can feel as if you are etherically holding each other's hands, creating a circle of light. Recognize the power that you have in this circle. For you are each individual beings, and yet you create a powerful organizational and multidimensional pattern of light, not unlike the sacred geometrical shapes that we have described. For each of you, being connected to the circle is also connected by many strands of consciousness through many parallel existences, and you through the circle are helping each other to awaken the light beings that you are. There are no accidents. Each of you is here for a reason. Reasons that only now your physical minds are beginning to get hints and glimpses of. Much will be revealed. And so we greatly appreciate each and every one of you for being a part of this co-creation. These channelings and other offerings that will emerge from each and every one of you will serve to build this new society by building this circle out and connecting with other concentric circles. Each of you has a gift. Each of you are a gift. Therefore, continue to hone the expression of your true natural selves. For each of you have a vibration to add to this grand symphony. Each of you is valued for the being that you are right now. Therefore, look within yourselves and look to each other to help to reinforce and reflect the true natural beings that you are emerging into. And may you be the light beings that you are. With these words of inspiration, we leave you, but we never truly leave you. For you can always re-establish this connection by thinking of this particular session and/or allowing yourself to connect to your higher mind directly or through any means that facilitate such a connection. And we are always here, even as your higher minds are always here, always present, always transmitting. It is up to each and every one of you to tune your radio receiver to the frequency of love from which we broadcast. Thusly now we will give whatever blessings are ours to give, and wish each and every one of you and all of you together a fond, wonderful and good day. Well, all right. That was fun.
How do you feel, Tom?
That was I had no idea like what was gonna come out. And I'm just learning more and more to trust, but it felt like a really nice, soothing kind of session. I liked the when it went into the multidimensional sacred geometry, I got some of the imagery, and it's like, I wish I could put it into words, you know. It's like, so some of you out there might be visual artists that probably could do some nice renditions of this. But yeah, it was nice to be able to just travel with the stream of consciousness like that.
Yeah, you know, I can add something to this because I'm a non-vocal channeler, and I do all the IT and the video productions of the conference, and the whole thing has been channeled on my part. I just sit down and it happens. Actually, Tom and I, we just took this project on a couple months ago, and half the things I'm doing I never even heard of before. So
wow.
It's been real interesting. And I think that the energy on the inside, we'll call it framework 2, has put this all together for us. And all we have to do is be the vehicle to allow it to come into the framework 1.
Right.
Yeah, as long as we don't have any expectations. And I've actually learned to step out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
Once I lock on to an idea, or the idea locks on to me, I'm more inclined now to think that the idea locks on to me because I'm in the vibrational range of it, and to allow it to manifest without any expectations. The things that come through and the abilities and just the whole thing is much greater than I could ever have conceived to do by myself. And it's really interesting. Very, very interesting. And this whole lucid waking thing is all resonating with me.
Yes.
So I'm really, really, really learning how to create in this reality. I'm also learning a lot about framework 2. I'm really connected in with sacred symbols and sacred geometry, so that all resonated with me, because I would imagine as a channel sees, a vocal channel sees the information that they're supposed to vocalize and somehow process into this reality, I do the same thing with information blocks and how to broadcast it out into this reality. It's just in a nonverbal form.
Yes.
I see in mathematics and blocks and that type of thing. It's all about the flow.
It's kind of like riding a wave, you know. It's like you grab your surfboard and you jump on the wave, and that's the action that you take. But then once you start acting, it's like you're riding this wave and the wave is moving you. It's like you don't have to create the wave, you know what I mean? So they might, from a physical mind level, it's like, well, how are we going to create this conference? We're not creating it at all. We're just riding the wave. We're just on that leading edge, taking the actions as we're inspired to take them. And the wave is already there. It's like, we don't have to do it. You know, we just take the out, but the action's exciting. So, you know, so that I really keep seeing that as, it's like the wave is the framework too. It's the momentum as it's coming, and we're just jumping out on ahead of that, so to speak, on the leading edge of that, on our surfboard by taking the action. That's what plugs us into the wave, is the action. So we acted on it and we keep acting, but to us, it's just, you know, today we're doing this, tomorrow we're doing that, and then we look and we're just like, oh my God, there's a conference going, you know? It's like somehow, yeah.
You know, I think it's much like the musician hears the tune in their head before they play it, much like the poet hears the poetry in their mind before they say it, or the artist sees the picture in their mind before they paint it. I think it's all the same thing.
Yes. It's like a translation. You're not actually doing it, you're translating. And the translation is of the passion, of the impulse. So you receive the message, it comes as passion, as impulse, and then you act on it. And you're actually translating something that's already there. You're not creating, you're translating.
Right.
And I've learned that I really don't think the thoughts are already there. It's just my vibrational range meets the same vibrational frequency as the thought, and the electromagnetic, they draw the two together.
Yes, exactly. So I really feel that the sense of community is really coming on strong right now. that we can all co-create just amazing patterns of light. Well, we are co-creating amazing patterns of light and awakening for all of us. It just keeps coming back as a theme. So it's going to be exciting what we all end up doing together.
Mm-hmm.
After the conference, we might actually start looking into doing more regular channelings, more than once a month. So we might create this intimate group to be once a month, but then we might do like a public broadcast on Facebook Live once a month too, which would be means it would be available every 2 weeks. But I want to keep this group as it is because we have a really nice thing going. So I don't want to, I want to keep this, just not to change the dynamics, unless it's somehow we realize we want to change it. But then every other 2 weeks, create that Facebook Live experience, which is me pushing the envelope of what I'm comfortable with, of course.
Good for you.
But that's what the conference is helping me open up to. And we're doing these live kind of quasi shows, testing the system before the conference. So I'm getting used to that idea of being live. But, I just want to say that this stuff, every step of the way, it's been processed through a series of negative beliefs about, being ashamed to reveal this stuff, or feeling like I'm a fraud, or feeling like, oh, it's like, you're just making it up. There's all these different cross-talking negative beliefs that have come up every step of the way. So that's part of the process. It's not, I'm not unusual in some way. I definitely experience it pretty intensely. So, putting that out there. All right. Well, I'll see you whenever I see you, wherever I see you. And yeah, thank you. Thank you for being a part of this co-creation and helping me come out of the closet, as it were.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah. Take care. Bye. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you.